Hi, my name's Sarah DeBorre and welcome to my yoga YouTube channel. This is Jessie Dog sitting over here. She's actually parked herself in the middle of the hay that my husband and I put out for our alpacas. So we like to leave them little hay treats around the property, and Jess is using that as a little bed at the moment, which is rather cute. And I've got my gumboots on at the moment because it's looking rather stormy. So hopefully we can get a yoga session out today before that rain comes. If not, I'm willing to continue on in the rain. It's quite warm here today. And when I say here, we are just outside of Heathcote in regional Victoria, outside enjoying the sights and sounds of the Australian bush and the sounds of the animals that we have here on our property. I'm going to get you to start in Supta Baddha Konasana today. We just want to start opening up through the hips. We're going to be working towards a few balances a little later on. So if Supta Baddha Konasana isn't right for your body, then please just start in Shavasana. So legs can lay out long in front of you. So if we're starting in Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet to touch, knees out wide, remembering that you can support your legs with some yoga blocks if you do have them, or some books perhaps if you've got books at home, or some pillows. Hands can rest anywhere on your body. And taking a few moments just to drop in before we get started with our practice. We'll start with a full body scan, starting from the crown of the head and working your way down, just seeing if there's anywhere that you can release tension. Not forgetting the jaw, that's often one that gets overlooked, making sure you're not holding any tension there. And through the shoulders, I know that I'm particularly guilty of that. There goes Bobby Martin, our rooster. We'll come through a few rounds of Samavriti breath, so an even inhalation to exhalation, and feeling free to adjust according to your own needs, but I will be taking us through a 4 count. So let's exhale the breath. And breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. 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 In, and continuing in your own time, taking 3 more rounds, and out. And when you finish that final round, just coming back to your natural breath in and out through the nostrils. Taking the hands to the outer thighs, let's draw those knees into the chest for a nice little cuddle. Maybe rocking from side to side just to massage out through that lower back. Before we bring the soles of the feet back down to the mat, and we're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee and threading those hands in and around to grab either the front of the shin or the back of the left knee, and coming back down to the mat with your head and shoulders into our reclined figure 4. I'm looking up into the sky right now and I can see a wedge-tailed eagle. I think it is really high up there. We occasionally get them out here. Making sure that those right toes are flexing towards the shins. And drawing that left knee in towards the chest. So using the pressure of your hands to draw that knee in while you simultaneously press the right ankle against that knee. So there's that push-pull motion here. We'll gently just loosen the grip on that knee, just enough so that we can take our right leg out and extend it long to the mat. And left arm comes out to a T. We'll use the right hand to draw that left knee all the way across to the opposite side of the mat. So drawing that left knee over to the right, maybe taking the gaze over the left shoulders. Feeling that nice stretch all the way through the side body. Making sure that that left shoulder is still plugging down into the mat. An inhale, coming back through center, soles of the feet to the mat. Let's extend that left leg long up towards the ceiling, taking clasp either of the back of the thigh, the back of the calf or ankle, or even the big toe if it's within your grasp, but not like straining to get up there. So I want you to keep your head back on that mat and take as generous a bend as you need through that left leg. Really flexing those left toes towards the shin. You can extend the right leg long in front of you, but you don't have to. That's just going to open up a little bit through that front right hip. We'll take a few little ankle rolls of that left ankle, so rolling that in one direction. And then switching and going in the opposite direction. We'll just hug that left knee into the chest. Maybe let's take it out to the side and hug it into that left armpit now. So feeling how that changes the opening through the hip. And now releasing that foot, taking both soles of the feet to the mat and just maybe wriggling your hips back into center. I know that I've gotten a little bit off track there. Left ankle places over the right thigh. We're going to thread our hands in now and take clasp with the back of the right thigh or the front of the right shin, and just coming back to rest on the mat with your head and shoulders, flexing those left toes towards the left shin. Really drawing that right knee in. And at the same time, we're pushing against that right knee with the left ankle. Just relaxing that grip on the knee just a little bit, just enough so that we can loosen up that left leg and extend it all the way to the mat while we keep hold over the right knee. We're going to extend our right arm down to the mat and use the left hand to pull that right knee across the body into the twist, making sure that we keep that right shoulder plugging into the mat. Maybe taking the gaze over the right shoulder if that's comfortable on your neck. It's actually quite nice doing yoga outside and watching a storm build like this. And coming back through center, just taking the soles of the feet to the mat so that we can realign. We're going to extend that right leg up towards the ceiling, and again taking your choice of where you place the hands, what is going to be best for your body, whether that's the toe, the calf, or the back of the thigh. But I really want you to think about keeping that head and shoulders on the mat and flexing the right toes towards the shin. Maybe extending that left leg long and having as much of a bend in that right knee as you need. We'll take some rolls through that right ankle in one direction. I'm creaky like an old wooden sailing ship at the moment. And then taking it in the opposite direction. And now let's hug that right knee into our chest, hugging that in nice and tightly. We're going to gently take that right knee out towards the right and then hug it in a little tighter towards that right armpit. And now releasing that foot back to the mat, taking both feet to the mat. We'll come through just a little bit of core work. So let's extend our legs up into the air, 90 degrees from the body, either keeping your head and shoulders on the mat as they are now, or you can come up off of the mat facing the palms together. And if that is too much, you can interlace the hands behind your head. Really trying to work to bring those shoulder blades off of the mat and drawing that lower belly in and up. I think I'm a little bit wonky on my mat from all of that other motion before. And breathing in and out. So we're not forgetting to breathe. Breath in, and on the exhale, let's lower the right leg down towards the mat, but we're just going to hover it. And inhale back up through center. The left leg lowers. And inhale back up to center. Once more, right leg lowers, hover. And inhale back up through center. And left leg lowers. Inhale back up through center. Let's cross over at the ankles and we'll just rock along the back of the hips. Maybe not so eloquently like me, or elegantly, should I say. And then we're just going to catch ourselves in Navasana, boat pose. So really drawing that lower belly in. We're sitting up nice and proud. Hands can come to the back of the legs or they can come to either side. We're really clamping those legs together, drawing that belly in and up. Maybe you extend the legs up higher, but that is very difficult for me at the moment, so I'm going to keep them here. Maybe taking your arms up to the sky for an extra challenge. You can maybe even do a little wiggle around. One of my favorite teachers, Jenna Lee, loves to dance in this pose. And it certainly makes it a little bit more challenging. Bringing the hands back to the back of the legs, and let's cross over those ankles so that we can come over onto our all fours into our tabletop position. We'll come through a few rounds of our cat-cow now. So hands underneath our shoulders, knees are in line with hips. Breath in to dip the belly. And exhale to tuck everything under. Again, breath in, dips the belly, gaze comes up. And exhale to tuck everything under. One more, breath in to dip the belly. And exhale to tuck everything under. Let's walk our hands back now to our knees as our butt sits onto our heels. We're going to tuck those toes and sit back onto them. Let's take our little toes out to make sure that they get into that stretch. And if this is too intense for you, then you can bring some weight off of those toes by lifting up off of the heels. But breath in, arms reach up. And exhale, right fingertips come to the mat or to the ground, and we lift that left arm up and overhead, feeling that nice stretch through the side body. On your next inhale, arms reach back up overhead, and exhale over to the left. Really feeling that nice stretch all the way through that right side. Inhale back up through center and hands through Anjali Mudra. Shutting down the eyes just for a moment. And then coming onto all fours, our tabletop position, kicking out the toes, just to give them a little bit of a massage out. We'll take a breath in and extend our right arm in front, left leg behind. Really engaging that left glute, lower belly draws in and up. And exhale, elbow comes to knee. Inhale to extend. And exhale, elbow to knee. Once more, inhale to extend and exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale to extend and maybe staying here or bending through that back knee and reaching our right arm over to take clasp with that back foot. And if you've got that foot, then we're kicking into that hand. Really opening up and pushing down through that left hand. Without slingshotting, let's release the foot. Hand comes back to the mat, knee comes back to the mat, and we'll move straight onto the other side. So inhale, left arm extends, right leg. And exhale, elbow comes to knee. Inhale to extend, and exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale to extend, exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale to extend, and either staying here, bending through the right knee is our option, and you can stay here, or we can swing that left arm, we windmill it back and try to grab hold of that right foot. If you've got that foot, then we're really kicking that foot into the hand, pushing down through the right hand to really open up. And that right knee isn't splaying out to the right, it's pointing down towards the mat. And releasing, hand and foot comes back down to the mat. We'll tuck up to our first downward dog, so tucking the toes when you're ready. And just taking a pedal out through those legs. Fingers are spread nice and wide, and the armpits are wrapping in to face each other, so we're broadening through the back of the shoulders. Settling into stillness. Breath in, let's come to the tippy toes, and exhale to sink the heels back down. Again, breath in, tippy toes, really try to get as high as you can, and exhale to sink those heels down to the mat. Once more, breath in, tippy toes, and exhale to sink the heels. Let's slowly walk our hands to the back of the mat. And we're just coming into our ragdoll. So you can leave the hands dangling long. You can take hold of opposite elbows, or alternatively interlace the hands behind the back. Yogi's choice today. Wherever you might be, take a generous bend in those knees and really make sure you're letting go through that neck, so we're not holding any tension. You might like to sway from side to side or stay static, but maybe play with shifting some weight forward and back so that you can feel that opening through the back of the legs. Hands release to the mat if they're not already there. Inhale, half lift, and hands to shins for this one. Fight back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach all the way up and overhead, all the way up to standing, and hands through heart center, our Anjali Mudra. And breath in, arms reach up. And exhale, hinging at the hips to fold all the way down to the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale to fold. Walking out now to our high plank. And making sure that our shoulders are above our wrists here. Fingers are spread nice and wide like they were in down dog. And that it's a nice long stance here so that the heels are stacking above the balls of the feet and you're really pushing through those heels so that they're active. Lower belly draws in and up. Gaze is at the top of your mat. Let's hover the right toes off of the mat. And exhale, right knee taps right elbow. Inhale, send it back, hovering those toes. Once more, right knee, right elbow. Send it back and toes land. Left toes hover off of the mat and left knee taps left elbow. Inhale, send it back, hovering. And once again, left knee, left elbow. Send it back, place those toes down, and let's lower the knees to the mat. We're going to lower all the way down to our bellies. Well done. Let's take our hands off of the mat now. Little tent hands, so we're on our fingertips, plugging the toenails into the mat. Breath in, coming up to our cobra. And exhale to release. Inhale. And exhale, releasing back to the mat. Once more, breath in. And exhale to release. Hands underneath the shoulders. Let's push back through child's pose and back to our downward facing dog. Breath in, bend your knees. Exhale, pull up through the belly and step, jump or walk to the top of your mat. Inhale, half lift, hands to shins. Exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach all the way up and overhead. And hands through heart center, our Anjali Mudra. Bringing the toe mounds to touch, heels can be just a little bit separated. We're coming into a round of Surya Namaskar B and setting up for chair. So if you prefer a wider stance in chair, then move those feet to hip distance. Breath in, sitting back into our Utthita chair pose, making sure that we tuck that tailbone, lower belly draws in and up. Taking just another breath here. And exhale, folding down to the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale to fold. Stepping back to our high plank. Let's lower chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or baby cobra. And sending the hips back to down dog. Breath in, right leg lifts. And exhale, let's step that right foot behind the right wrist. Left foot turns out to 45 degrees as we come up to our warrior one. Hips face forward. Exhale, hands come back down to the mat. And let's step back into our high plank. Let's lower chaturanga. Inhale to up dog. Exhale back to down dog. Breath in, left leg lifts. And let's step that left foot behind the left wrist. Right foot comes out to 45 as we stand tall into our warrior one. Making sure that those hips square off to the front of your mat. And exhale, hands come back down to the mat. Let's step back into our high plank, lower chaturanga. Inhale to up dog. And exhale, back to our down dog. Taking a few breaths here in down dog. And breath in, right leg lifts. Exhale, peel open that hip, bend at the knee, and take that right heel towards your butt. Let's not dump too much weight into that left shoulder, so make sure the shoulders are level. And maybe trying to take that right knee a little higher. Coming high onto the left toes. Let's exhale, right knee taps right elbow. Inhale, shoot it back. Right knee taps left elbow. Inhale, shoot it back. Right knee to chest. And let's step that foot between our hands, dropping the back knee, coming into our low lunge, Vinyasa. Left glute is engaged here. And that left heel, or the right heel should I say, is pushing down into the mat and then working to draw that mat in. On the exhale, fingertips come down to the mat. We tuck the back toes, setting up for our runner's lunge. Breath in, beams the heart forward. And on the exhale, straightening through the front leg for our pyramid. For this pyramid, I do want you to step that foot in and take it to the 45-degree angle and make sure that we really take that right hip back. And remembering you can have as much of a bend as you need through that front standing leg, or you can use some blocks underneath your hands or books, whatever you have handy at home. One more breath here. And then we're going to bend back through that front knee and come back to our runner's lunge. So you might need to rearrange those feet. Let's breath in. Let's just beam that heart forward, feeling that nice stretch through the hip. And exhale, bringing those hands to the mat, three-legged dog. Right leg kicks up to the sky. Let's peel open that hip, bending at the knee. And either staying here or we can turn this into a flip dog or wild thing. I'm going to take the wild thing option. So if you're taking wild thing, then shift your weight forward so that your shoulders are above your wrist before you anchor that back foot or the left foot and then step into your wild thing. And then really engage those glutes. And right hand comes back to the mat, three-legged dog. Let's peel open that right hip again, bending at the knee. And coming high onto the left toes, we're going to exhale. That right knee comes towards the right elbow, but that foot is going to step on the outside of the hand for our lizard lunge. So maybe just taking some gentle movements here in our lizard. And maybe dropping down to that back knee if that feels good for you. You can come down onto the forearms if that's available to you, but I don't want you to splay that knee out to the right yet. I want to keep that right knee hugging in towards the right shoulder. You can turn this into twisted monkey if that's within your practice. So if you're going for the twisted monkey, it can be actually helpful to place a block under your hand for some extra lift on that left hand before you bend through that right knee and then go to catch that foot. See, it's a little bit difficult for me to get right back there, but I've got it. And if you've got that foot in your hand, then maybe kicking a little bit into that right hand. And if you've come into the twisted monkey, maybe splaying that leg out to the side so the right leg comes out and the right toes are flexed. If you've got the foot, then release that back to the mat. Hand comes back to the mat. Let's tuck those back toes back to our high lizard lunge. And then we're going to step our left foot to the top of the mat and sink back into our malasana. Maybe taking a little wiggle from side to side as we settle in here. Hands are at heart center. If you do have a block and it's nearby, you can choose to sit that block underneath your sit bones to help here in this pose. But otherwise, I want you to think about using those elbows to push into those legs. Our chest is proud. And let's just take a little bit of weight out of those feet. So just lift up just a tiny bit. Mula bandha is engaged, so the pelvic floor lifts up. And taking a few more breaths here. You can turn this into crow if crow is in your practice. And if you're in crow, you might like to jump back to take a flow. If you're still in malasana, our yogi squat, then hands to the mat and either stepping or jumping back. If you're jumping back, then it's straight into bent arms chaturanga, into up dog or baby cobra, and exhale back to our down dog. I've made quite a nice mess on my mat, lots of little pebbles everywhere. I guess that's one of the perils of practicing outdoors. Breath in, left leg lifts, and let's exhale, peel open that hip, bending at the knee, taking that foot all the way to the butt, and making sure that we're not dumping weight into that right shoulder, so our shoulders are nice and level, maybe lifting that left knee a little higher, and coming high onto the toes of the right foot. Let's exhale, left knee taps left elbow, inhale, shoot it back. Left knee taps the right elbow. Inhale, shoot it back. And left knee coming to the chest now to set up for our low lunge. Stepping between the hands, dropping the back knee, arms raise up, Anjaneyasana. Remembering that we're really engaging that right glute, and that right heel is really plugging down into the mat and drawing that mat in. Fingers come down to the mat to frame that front foot, and let's tuck the back toes coming into our runner's lunge. On your next inhale, let's beam that chest forward. And on the exhale, we're straightening through the front leg for pyramid. And let's step that foot in about 10 or 15 centimeters and then turning it off at our 45-degree angle. Remembering to make sure that our hips are squaring off. So left hip crease pulls back, right hip comes forward. Hands can be on the mat or on books or blocks, whatever you have at home. And you can have as deep a bend in that front knee as you need. I'll just settle in here for a few breaths. We're going to walk those fingers just a little bit forward if they came back, and coming back to our runner's lunge, so you might need to wiggle that foot back. We're on the ball of the back foot. Let's breathe in, beam that heart forward, and exhale as the hands come to the mat, left leg lifts, three-legged dog. Let's peel that hip open again, bending at the knee, taking the heel to the butt, and either staying here or moving this into flip dog or wild thing. I'm going to be going back to wild thing. That's what I took on the other side. Remembering wild things, let's come forward, shoulders above the wrists before we flip over into our wild thing. Maybe stepping back as slowly as you can. And once you're here, really engaging those glutes to push the hips open. Left hand comes back to the mat, three-legged dog. And let's peel that hip open again, bending at the knee. Coming high onto the ball of the right foot. And we're going to take that left knee towards the left elbow, but we're stepping that foot on the outside of the left hand into our lizard lunge. So we're in our high lizard, just taking some gentle movement here. Forward and back, or maybe rolling through that hip, whatever feels good. And you might like to stay high or come down to your forearms, or if you've got a brick or a book, you can place it underneath those arms for support. But I want you to think about, for now, bringing that left knee in to hug against that left shoulder. By all means, drop the back knee. And if you'd like to bring it into twisted monkey, then just letting that left knee drop out to the side, the left toes flex, bend through the right knee to bring that right heel towards your butt, and then the left arm sweeps overhead to take clasp of that foot. Once you've got that foot maybe kicking into the hand a little, you might take the gaze over that left shoulder. Not here for super long. Without slingshotting, releasing that foot. Hand comes back to the mat, tucking the back toes. Let's step up to the top, back into our Malasana, our yogi squat. And another opportunity here for you to practice crow, or you can just stay here in Malasana. If you're practicing crow, then you're really trying to get those knees very high up into the armpits. So toes come together is going to make it a lot easier. Knees tuck in, hands are spread out wide, and then coming forward, keeping that gaze forward, maybe lifting one foot off at a time if you're just practicing your crow, or maybe bringing that weight forward and taking the full crow. If you've got the crow, then coming back to our Malasana. And then we're just going to straighten through those legs into our forward fold. Heel toe those feet together. And inhale, half lift for length. Exhale to fold. We're going to pistol grip the toes now. So index and middle finger slide between the big toe and the next one. And the thumb comes to the top of the toe. You can have as much of a bend through those knees as you need. Elbows point out to the side. Let's inhale, halfway lift for length, straightening out through the back. And exhale to come into that fold. You can have as much of a bend as you need in those knees. One more breath here. And releasing the grip of the hands. Let's inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold. Inhale, coming all the way up to standing arms, reach up and overhead. And exhale, hands through heart center by your side, Tadasana. Shutting down the eyes just for a moment. I want you to play with the weight distribution in your feet before we move on. So just shifting some weight from side to side, maybe front to back. We're taking some little circles. And if this is too much with your eyes closed, then just open them up, but just take a really gentle gaze towards the earth. Basically, I want you to not be standing in what you think is center at the moment. So we're just moving. Coming into stillness and settling on center. I want you to lift every one of those toes off of the mat, spread them nice and wide, and then ground them back into the mat. So really plug those toes in. Now feel the weight on the inside of your feet, so pressing through the balls of the feet. Now pressing through the outer blade edge of the feet, and pressing through the heels. Taking a gentle bend in the knees and really plugging those feet into the mat. It's like you're really pushing into the ground. And blink the eyes open. Let's inhale, arms reach up overhead, and exhale to fold down to the mat. inhale, half lift, and exhale to plant the hand, step or jump back to chaturanga. Inhale to up dog or baby cobra, and exhale sends the hips back to our down dog. Breath in, right leg lifts, and exhale, right knee comes to chest. It steps between our hands and we rise strong into our high crescent lunge. Left glute is engaged. Breathing in and out. Fixing your gaze somewhere that it isn't moving. Maybe taking a gentle bend in that back knee. We're going to slowly open up to the left now into our goddess. So the left arm swings around to the back and we pivot on the ball of the left foot so that we bring our heels inwards. So heels are in, toes are out, and sinking low into that goddess, maybe moving through those hips. A little wiggle from side to side can be nice, or you can stay static. Hands can be at heart center. They can be extended or cactus, whatever feels good for your body today. But we're all really engaging those glutes and working to tilt that tailbone under. Belly draws in and up. And on the inhale, let's reach our arms up for the sky, straightening through those legs. And exhale to sink back down into our goddess. Let's do that once more. Inhale. And exhale back to goddess. Inhale, arms reach up, and this time hands to heart center. Let's take the toes now in, so we're going to pivot on the heels, bringing the toes, feet are parallel, slight pigeon toe, and we're going to fold all the way down to the mat into our wide-legged forward fold. Fingers are in line with toes. Breath in, halfway lift for length. And exhale to fold a little deeper. Taking some of that weight into the balls of the feet. And you might like to bend the knees from side to side in this position. Whatever feels good for your body, you can keep it static. But not locking out those knees. So just a micro bend in those knees. Let's inhale, half lift. And we're going to walk our hands to the top of the mat to frame that front foot. We pivot on the foot back to our runner's lunge. And hands plant three-legged dog, right leg lifts. And from here, we're going to walk our hands to the back of the mat. So the right leg is staying lifted. So we're coming into our standing splits. So walking our hands all the way back. And really doing what you can to keep that right leg lifting as high as possible. We're going to bring that right knee into the chest as we come up to standing. So bringing that knee all the way up to our chest. Hands are at heart center. Maybe lift that knee a little higher. And now crossing the right ankle over the left knee, should I say, sitting back into our standing figure four or open eagle. So flexing those right toes, maybe sitting a little lower, feeling that nice opening through the right side of the outer hip. One more breath. And on the inhale, let's stand up, bringing that right knee into the chest and taking hold of that right knee. So you might stay here, and this is perfectly fine, but we're going for the extended hand to big toe pose. So if you've got that within your practice, we're going to take that pistol grip of the fingers again. So the index finger and the middle finger come to wrap around the big toe, the thumb places on top, left hand comes to the left hip, and then we're going to extend that right leg any amount. So you can have a bend in that knee. For me, I can't straighten that leg out. But let's work to really pull that shoulder back into the socket so the right shoulder rolls back. And really engaging that left glute for stability. You might like to stay just here. And even if you've got the knee, you can bring it out to the side, as can be the same with the foot. So maybe opening that out to the side. Inhale back through center, and without slingshotting, let's take that knee back into the chest. Hands can come to hips for a minute. Hands come to chest. I know we've done a lot of work on this standing leg, but we're just going to do just a teensy weensy bit more. We're going to send that right leg back into our warrior 3. Hands are at chest. Let's work to bring that right hip point down to face the mat. Right toes are flexed. Maybe taking a gentle bend in that standing leg. And hands to the mat, back to our standing splits. Well done. Let's walk ourselves back out to our 3-legged dog. And either taking the right foot to the mat, back to down dog, or taking a 3-legged vinyasa flow. The choice is yours. Breath in, ripple forward to high plank, lower chaturanga, inhale up dog or baby cobra, and exhale back to down dog. Taking 5 breaths here in down dog, or you can drop the knees and come down to child's pose. I'm going to take a moment to have a quick drink of water before we come on to the other side. That was a good little baby cobra stretch you just did, Jess. Excuse me. Okay, if you're in child's pose, then pushing back up to our downward facing dog. We've got the other side to do. Sorry, that water went down the wrong pipe then. Breath in, left leg lifts. And exhale, knee to chest, stepping through for our high crescent lunge, rising up nice and strong. Right glute is switched on. Taking a few breaths here. And we're going to open up to our goddess. So we sweep that right arm around as we pivot on the ball of that back foot, bringing the heels in together. So heels are in, toes are out, knees aren't caving in, knees are pressing out, hips are tilting under. So we're just tucking that tailbone under, and our belly draws in and up. Your choice with the hands, they can be at prayer, extended, or cactus. Breath in, reach our arms up to the sky, straightening through those legs, and exhale to sink back in. Breath in, straightening through the legs, arms reach up, and exhale to sink back in. Once more, breath in, let's straighten through those legs, and this time let's pivot on the heels. So we're bringing our toes in just slightly, feet are parallel, but the toes are in just a little pigeon-toed, and then we're going to hinge at the hips to fold all the way back down to the mat into our forward fold. This time you can keep the hands underneath the face, or you can take a pistol grip of the toes or a grasp on the back of the heels. Breath in, halfway lift, and exhale to draw yourself in deeper. If you've got a grip on the toes or the heels, making sure that those elbows are pointing out to the sides. Making sure we shift a little bit of weight forward into the balls of the feet. Making sure there's also a little micro bend in those knees so we're not locking out through those knees. Releasing any grip that you might have. Let's breathe in, halfway lift, hands are underneath the face, and exhale, walking ourselves to the top of the mat into our runner's lunge. So hands frame the foot, and breath in to beam the heart forward, and exhale, three-legged dog, left leg lifts up and back. So from our three-legged dog, we're going to walk ourselves back all the way to the back of the mat. So we're coming into our standing splits at the back. And that left leg is lifting as high as we can get it. Taking just another breath here. And then we're going to bend that left knee and bring it into our chest as we do our best to stand up without setting that foot down. And I just set mine down. So it doesn't matter though if you did do that like me. Wobbles are good. Coming back into our practice is good. Drawing that knee high into the chest. Lower belly draws in and up. Standing nice and tall. And on the exhale, let's cross that left ankle on top of the right knee and sit back into our open eagle or our standing figure four. Really flexing those left toes towards the left shin. Maybe going a little bit lower. You might like to just take those hands to push gently against that left leg to open up a little bit more. Hands back to heart center. And inhale, coming up to standing, bringing that left leg up, so left knee to the chest and taking hold of that left knee. So you can either stay here, but if you're coming all the way with me, then our left fingers grab the left toe, keeping your eyes focused on one point that's not moving. Right hand can come to your hip, and let's extend that left leg any amount in front of us. Now the right hand can stay on the hip or it can come out to the side for a little bit of extra balance. And we're working to roll that left shoulder back into the socket. So we're not letting the leg pull that arm out. You might like to open out to the side. And coming back through center. Let's release that knee, keeping it hugged into the chest, hands to heart center as we hinge at the hip and come into our warrior three. So it's just a little bit more work. Working to level those hips off, left toes are flexed, left glute is engaged. Just a little bit more, you know that we're almost about to go down to the mat. And hands come to the mat, standing splits. Let's walk ourselves back out to our three-legged dog. And from three-legged dog, either settling that foot down to the mat or taking a one-legged flow. Breath in, ripple forward, lower chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or baby cobra. And exhale, back to our downward facing dog. And breath in, right leg lifts. Let's peel open that hip, bending at the knee, taking the heel towards the butt. Just getting ready to set up for our pigeon. So our right knee is going to come towards the right wrist, and we take the right ankle over to the left as we settle the back knee down to the mat. And if you do have that block or book handy, you might like to, or pillow, place it underneath that right hip if it's lifted up like mine is. Making sure that we've got a relatively straight leg, so that leg is straight to the edge of the mat. And you might like to just stay here, or you can come forward any amount down to the mat. Are you okay, Jess? I don't know about you, but I feel like this is an asana that I should be taking every day for like half an hour every day on each side, because my poor hips are so tight. We'll stay here just for another couple of breaths. Pressing back up to seated. We're just going to roll onto that right hip, so removing any blocks or other props that you might have underneath there. I've got bark falling out of my hair. Let's swing the left leg forward. And we're going to set up for our janu. So left leg is extended, right sole of the foot comes to the inner left thigh. Maybe just taking those meaty bits away from the sit bones. You can have a bend in that left knee. Breath in, arms reach up, and exhale to fold over that left leg any amount. If you can't reach that foot, then don't strain yourself. Just let your hands fall on the mat. And working to bring that chest sort of parallel down to the ground. So we don't want to be twisting here. We want to keep that chest down. Letting go of any tension in the neck, so the head hangs heavy. Releasing the foot, coming back up to our seat. Right hand plants behind the right hip, and we're just going to press into that right shin as the left arm sweeps up and overhead into our stargazer. Oh, really nice to open up through the hips, engage those glutes, push those hips forward. And left hand sweeps back down to the mat as we come back down onto our sit bones. Let's extend the legs in front of us. I'm covered in dirt today. We're just going to cross at the knees so that we can step back to our down dog. And breathe in, left leg lifts. Let's peel open that hip, bending at the knee. Not dumping into that right shoulder, so keeping those shoulders nice and level. And just getting ready to come into pigeon on the other side. So the left knee comes in behind the left wrist, left ankle to the right wrist, and we drop down onto the back knee. Maybe walking that back leg back just a little bit. And you might like to use a prop underneath that left hip. And coming down when you're ready, any amount. If it's comfortable just to stay up here, then stay up here. You can make two little fists and use them as a little pillow to rest your head on. Or coming all the way down to the mat or ground. And one more breath here. And let's bring ourselves back up, sitting onto that left hip. Right leg swings around to the top of the mat, setting up for our Janusharasana on the other side. So left sole of the foot comes into the inner right thigh. Maybe once again just moving those fleshy bits away from the sit bones, taking a little bend in that front knee. Breath in, arms reach up, and exhale to fold over that right leg. Coming back up to seated, left hand plants behind the left hip as we come into our stargazer. So pushing the weight down into that left shin. Hips open up, squeezing those glutes. And exhale to bring the sit bones back down to the mat. Let's extend the legs long in front of us. And we'll just get ready for our forward fold. So let's flex those toes towards our shins. Maybe once again, getting those sit bones comfy. Sitting up nice and tall. Arms reach up and overhead. And exhale to hinge at the hips. So let's move from the hips first without caving over. And then when we can't go any further without bending our back, letting our hands come down and rounding through the spine. Taking as much of a bend in those knees as you need. And releasing that grip. We're going to slowly lower all the way down to the mat. So maybe shifting your hips a little bit forward if you need to. Legs are extended. Hands are out in front. Let's draw that lower belly in and up. Sit nice and tall. And we're slowly going to lower for a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Let's stop at 6. And here at 6, let's take some little circles. So it's like we're doing little hula hoop circles. It's like we've got an imaginary hula hoop around our waist and we're hulaing in one direction. And let's stop and take that in the opposite direction now. So we're hulaing in the opposite direction. Keeping that lower belly drawn in. We're still breathing. And settling into stillness. And where were we? We were at 6, weren't we? So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming down all the way to the mat. Let's just give ourselves a little hug. So drawing those knees into the chest. Maybe really hugging in. You might like to bring your head and shoulders off of the mat. So tucking into a little ball like you're going to cannonball into a swimming pool. And then let's release the feet down to the mat. Soles of the feet come to the mat. We're going to set up for our back bend now. So getting ready for our bridge pose. Heels are in line roughly with our knees and feet are hip distance apart. And that should mean that you can just kind of see the outside edge of the feet. We'll draw our lower belly in. Start by tilting that tailbone up and then we're going to peel up off of the mat. Maybe taking an interlace of the hands underneath the back. And if you've got that interlace, then really working to roll the shoulders under and we're pushing that fist into the mat so that we can lift a little higher. glutes are really active here. Knees aren't splaying out to the sides, they're staying straight. So you've got that imaginary block between your knees that you're hugging in. One more breath here. And we're going to exhale, release down to the mat. We'll take a breath here just to bounce back before we come through one more round. And when you're ready, hands by your side. Lower belly draws in. Tailbone starts to tuck so that we lift those glutes off of the mat and we push up into our bridge pose. Hands interlace, rolling the shoulders under. Really engaging those glutes to push the hips up. And just for a little bit of extra glute work, you might like to just stay here, that's totally fine. But otherwise, we're just going to play with taking our feet off of the mat. So 1 foot at a time, let's lift the right leg and just extend it in front. So on the same plane as the other leg, making sure that we're level through those hips and bringing that foot back to the mat. Let's do the other side. Left leg extends. And bringing it back to the mat. Letting go of the hands, should I say, and releasing down to the mat, 1 vertebrae at a time. Coming down to neutral, maybe taking your feet to the width of the mat and just letting the knees to knock in together. Resting here for just a few moments, letting the spine bounce back after those back bends. And then bringing the feet back to center, arms come out to a T, and then we're going to just cross the right leg over the left knee and we'll shimmy the hips over to the right as we let those legs drop over to the left. Maybe taking the gaze over the right shoulder and making sure though that that right shoulder is staying grounded into the mat. Inhale, legs come back through center, uncrossing the legs, shimmying the hips back to the middle, left leg crosses over the right knee, and then let's just take the hips out to the left a little so that we have space to drop the legs over to the right. Left shoulder is grounded, maybe taking the gaze over that left shoulder. Knees come back up through center. And taking any last movements that you might like to take. You might like to take a happy baby or just legs up the wall. Actually, I'm going to take legs up the wall before we have our Shavasana. So either legs up the wall or happy baby. You can place a block or a pillow underneath your hips if you're taking the legs up the wall option. And if you like, you can bring your arms into this too, but keeping the shoulders on the mat, but arms can extend up. One more breath here. And before we lower all the way down to the mat and we get ready for our Shavasana. Or alternatively, you can finish with a seated meditation. So yogi's choice. I'm going to finish in a seated meditation. So maybe grabbing anything that you need to get comfortable. So maybe a pillow if you're laying down in Shavasana. You can use that underneath the knees. It can be really nice. You might like to rug up with a few extra layers. Or coming into a comfortable seat, whatever that might mean for your body, whether it's kneeling or cross-legged. And when you're ready, just shutting down the eyes. If you're in Shavasana, palms face up, and really starfishing out to take up as much space as you can. If you're in a seat, making sure that those sit bones are plugging down as you lengthen through the spine and take a gentle tuck of the chin to lengthen through the back of the neck. And just settling into stillness. If you're in Shavasana and you'd like to stay there, then please stay there for as long as you would like. And the same goes for your meditation. But if you'd like to get on with your day, then wriggling through the fingers and the toes, maybe taking a full body stretch before rolling onto your favourite side and pushing up to a comfortable seat and trying to do that with the eyes shut. Once you're in your comfortable seat, taking the hands, the palms to press at heart center. Bowing the head towards your hands. Thank you for practicing with me. I hope you enjoyed your class. Namaste. It's always so hard to open your eyes when you've been practicing outside and they've been shut, even when it's overcast. My name is DeBorre. Thank you for practicing yoga with me. And if you enjoyed this class, perhaps hit like below, subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of the videos that I will be releasing. And hopefully I see you on the mat again soon. Namaste. Is it time for a walk, Jess?